With regular Panthera having silly requirements to make it, like burning an entire emitter to craft it, I'm not that surprised that many people just get that for master rank. It's also not that great of a weapon, really. But Panthera Prime comes with quite an improved set of stats. High slash, high status chance, and with the slightest bump in critical chance, it becomes critically viable. Another feature that works really well with that high status is the fact that weapons shoot 2 projectiles at the time, both being affected by multi-shot and both having the direct damage and the area of effect damage. So total number of damage instances per shot makes it feel more like a shotgun. Altfire extends a saw, which deals hella high damage, so using that after we prime enemies with our primary fire mode is quite juicy. Bleed procs from that can be built to a very high level. But for our build here, I want to focus on building up damage with galvanized aptitude, so I built it for viral and heat. Added more slash, critical stuff, and multi-shot. Weapon has a rather high Riven disposition, and for a good reason. Honestly, it's not that great without the Riven, so it's one of those weapons. In my case, multi-shot damage and critical damage add quite a lot to it, but nothing you can't replace with some good old buffing abilities. Projectile flight speed helps a lot with this weapon, and since ammo economy is pretty great, that's my preferred mod for Ocelot. Obvious variation for this build would be adding more fire rate instead of heat, and that would be a good one. There were some issues with using shred on this weapon, so I would probably choose the corrupted fire rate mod for maximum gain. The reason I use Ocelot's name in the title is because of a fun mechanic going on with this weapon. Saws you launch bounce from surfaces, making it possible to hit enemies you don't even see. And as you see, projectiles use simple geometry, and it's not like in many other games that those bouncing projectiles are quite forgiving and will kind of bend a hit towards a target when you're close enough to bouncing it right. Here you have to be pixel accurate for a direct hit. While this mechanic is not something that has an extensive use in this game as of now, it's still kind of fun. Especially if you're using your minimap. You can hit some random shots, and if not kill enemies with those, then at least prime enemies for what's about to happen. But this probably ends up being something that most people just don't actively use, but it helps them as a bunch of random hits keep happening whether you like it or not. Weapon has a small amount of its damage as AoE, and for the most part that's only useful for priming enemies around your main target. It's less than 2 meter radius, and it has rather low damage. So personally, I don't think it's worth using a mod that adds blast radius. For me, this is one of those weapons that I know are not very strong, but more fun than strong, if that makes sense. In Steel Path, it can feel underwhelming if you don't have a Riven or some damage buffs. But aside from that, the only drawback I can think of is that so many damage instances just create a messy UI so you don't see what you're aiming at. I think this weapon would be more popular if the bounce mechanic was a bit more forgiving like they have in some other games. I would put the video for Metal Gear Solid 5 because there you can use Shalashaska's gun. But Konami claims all the videos for themselves, so screw them. But there you can basically have a small angle of tolerance, like hitting 10 degrees around a pixel that's a perfect bounce angle, and bullet will still hit the target. Doubt it would be too hard to program it since technology is already in the game. It's still fun as is, and I do enjoy using it from time to time, even though overplaying the bounce mechanic can take you longer to get it done, but it's not a competitive game, it's for funs and giggles. Thank you for watching, subscribe for more, and I'll see you in the next one.